Start us off. Luke and then Scott.
Probably not what you want to see from your team today. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we're disappointed, very disappointed with our general performance today. I expected us to be really competitive today. I don't think we, just starting off the ball, in terms of trying to deliver a really competitive, energetic performance, it wasn't there. Then the duels, we were off on our duels, so then it becomes very difficult because they're still the best team in the Premier League, maybe the world still for me in the build-up phase. And with the ball, I think they're still a very, very difficult team to play against. They then can keep the ball for long periods of time, so it can become a difficult mix if you don't get that first part right, and we didn't today, and sadly that led to a disappointing performance.
Are you getting slightly irritated that the team when they're good, they're excellent, but when they're bad, they can look like they did today?
Yeah, I don't think we're perfect. We're far from it. I think we have days where we can look far from the team that we are when we're on it, and it's a real frustration for us because to be an elite team, you've got to be consistent. You've got to figure out ways to be competitive, even if you're not feeling your best or as cohesive as you want to be. Certainly today, it looked like a difficult start to the game for us, but then we never responded really in that first half. It was a tough half to watch. I thought we were much better in the second period, but the game was gone.
Okay, we've got a Scott, Craig, and then Lee.
Yeah, probably just following on from that really, Eddie. When we talk about that first half, I mean, I think we've probably seen and heard enough from you to know what you like from your team, what you want from your team. That wasn't an Eddie Howe team performance in that first half, was it?
No, it was as I said, it was painful to watch from the sideline. You know that we were a yard off where we needed to be. We seemed to be reactive. We allowed their good technical players too much space. Now they do have outstanding players, and as I said, they're still, for me, I know a lot's been made of their run, but still for me, with the ball, they're the best team in the Premier League. And we've had some difficult games here, but that just, we weren't competitive enough. We weren't in their face enough. And when you come up 50-50 against any direct opponent, we were losing too many of those battles, and ultimately those things cost you matches.
And does it say something? I mean, you know, not having a go at any players or anything in particular, but does it say something that almost in the first 10 minutes he'd been on the pitch, you probably saw more of that from Lewis Miley than maybe you'd seen from a number of the other players that were out there in that first 45?
Yeah, I think the big positive today is Louis' performance in that second half, and he showed not just bravery out of possession in terms of winning duels and covering the pitch, but in terms of taking the ball and showing composure and making the right decisions, which we didn't make enough of. So he can be very proud of his performance, but some of us need to look at him, and he led the way.
Thanks, Scott. Craig?
Eddie, you said after the Fulham game that the players might have had one eye on the subsequent match against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup semi. Now you're in the final, is there a danger a month away that final does become the focus? Because it could be a long month if that is the case.
If that is the case, we're in trouble, Craig, because our Premier League season will be over really by the time that final comes around. It can't be the focus. It's on the horizon. It should be a positive. It shouldn't be a negative distraction for us. I'd encourage the players to look at it that way. It's an excitement, but we have to go back to work, and work is the Premier League, the day in, day out. And we have to perform better. That's 3 of our last performances in the Premier League that haven't been good enough. And they've all had similar traits in them. So, yeah, back to basics for us, I think, for next week.
Thanks, Craig. Lee?
Eddie, you made a few changes, taking some big names off. Was there any reason for injury for those changes?
No.
And Craig just mentioned the cup final sort of narrative there. That was already being spoken about across sort of talk sport and things like that yesterday. How do you stop that creeping into the dressing room now?
Well, I can't stop other people talking about it, and we've tried to address it internally and then put it away. I don't know. I don't know. People will naturally assume that the cup final may be a negative distraction, and it certainly wasn't a great performance from us today. But yeah, I'd need probably a little bit of time before sticking my colours to the mast to see what went wrong today.
Thanks, Lee. George?
Hi, Eddie. Yeah, similar theme, I'm afraid. You said yesterday that this could be a defining period for the team. Obviously, this was not the kind of response that you wanted. Can it be a useful lesson in that respect? Can it be a defining game in the sense of a positive, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I think that's what I have to try and create from the game, is that it's a positive moment, because we learn a lot from it. We learn a lot of what we don't want to do, to be honest, in terms of a game, because that's what we've delivered today. A lot of what we don't want: second best in duels, second best physically, not ourselves with the ball. We didn't look a threat today. So, you know, sometimes we've had games like this before this season. We've always just responded pretty well. I think the inconsistency is a worry, and has been sort of there all season. Now we're off the back of winning a lot of games, so don't want to overreact. Won 12 of our last 15, but still, just looking at the last group of games, we've not been what we want to be.
Okay, we'll go to Martin and then to Simon at the front.
Hi Eddie, what is it about coming to this stadium that seems to overwhelm your players? That the record is really, really poor, 7 games now without a goal even. And is that something you have to overcome for the team to be able to move to the next level?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's the stadium. I think it's something to do with the players that we're playing against. Yes, but the second part of your question, 100%, we have to embrace these challenges much better than we did today, because we want to be get to a place where we can compete toe-to-toe against any team in the Premier League. We've tried to do that with our approach, but I don't think that we looked anywhere near as competitive as we want to be, or we have been previously. We've lost games here, but I think the games have looked slightly different. Today it was definitely a step back in that respect.
Thanks, Martin. The last question from Simon.
Eddie, just in terms of where you are in the league, there's a lot of teams around that area. You went on a really, really good run. Now you're not doing so well. Chelsea went on a good run. They're not doing so well. Brighton lost 7, then they've won a couple of games. There seems to be a few teams in that situation. Do you know why that is?
I think it happens a lot in the Premier League, because the competition and the teams are so strong that you're going to go on periods of winning games, losing games. It's going to happen throughout the season. I think the challenge is to obviously mirror the form that we showed a couple of months ago, where we were fearless in our approach. The players looked motivated consistently. We had a really good winning mentality to our performances, even when we didn't play well. We can't lose graphs. That was only very recently. So confidence is a key thing. Fitness of key players is a key thing. I thought today we missed Joelinton's dual winning ability. We missed Sven Botman's physical presence. All these things matter. So yeah, we'll try and get those players fit as quickly as possible.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks very much.